Secretary of State Rubio and Ukrainian President Zelensky arrive in Saudi Arabia to begin peace negotiations. Cyber attacks plague social media app X, and Tesla vehicles are set on fire. Investigative journalist Sarah Westall on the big tech Wild West. Controversy surrounds the actions of state governments in both Maine and Washington. I'm Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Saudi Arabia to begin the process of discussing bilateral peace negotiations. Rubio stated that Ukraine's plan for a partial ceasefire, in which Russia and Ukraine would cease hostilities in both the aerial and naval fields, had promise. He also relayed a message from President Trump that aid may resume to Ukraine if talks go well. In summary, it appears Rubio's intention in this bilateral negotiation is to see how far apart Ukraine and Russia are each from peace, and then go from there. Zelensky did issue an official apology just before the talks began for his behavior in the Oval Office last Friday. He also issued a statement thanking the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia for hosting the talks, in which he said he had a great meeting. He was grateful for the wise perspective of Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman. He discussed key issues on the agenda, bilateral matters in cooperation with other partners, acknowledging efforts to bring peace truly closer. These discussions taking place in Jeddah to work with the United States on March 11th are a significant step in achieving practical outcomes to the end of the war. No word yet from the Russian delegation, although it is hoped that though Putin is trying a series of counteroffensives against Ukraine at the present time, we're possibly within an arm's reach of a general ceasefire and maybe the beginning of an end to this particular war. Secretary Rubio did draw a little bit of flack for a controversial statement, or at least that's what I'm told it is, in which he said that Ukraine must cede territory in any peace deal that's brought forward. And this would be parts of the Donbass and the Crimea that are theoretically under current Russian occupation. Now, it would make sense for Ukraine to give back some of the land that it has taken from Russia's southwest, but it's unlikely that Ukraine would be able to give up enough of that land to regain the Donbass and the Crimea. And there really is not a realistic scenario in this particular instance by any metric, whether from those on the left or the right, in any stated plan or policy that would regain the Ukraine those regions taken by Russia. Over the weekend and into Monday, a series of attacks on Tesla dealerships, on Tesla vehicles, both the Cybertruck and Tesla cars, in cities around the United States took place. Many are under investigation for criminal acts such as arson. Here's a Tesla Cybertruck in Seattle, which is on fire.
All right, you've got dozens of firefighters now putting out flames on the Cybertruck. Absolutely insane. Look, you still see flames right underneath the Cybertruck.
Other instances of Tesla cars in an area in one particular lot having all of their tires stolen, over 47 tires stolen. There's a video that's rather disturbing from New York City, in which an individual with a long beard and hair chases after a family riding in a Tesla Cybertruck, smacking the side of the vehicle and screaming what I'm sure are very positive comments as he flips off the vehicle. Yesterday, Elon Musk's social media app X, formerly known as Twitter, was plagued by intermittent outages due to a series of cyber attacks. Musk did state that the IP addresses of the hackers, like a sort of online address from which you are sending something, originated from Ukraine.
Another thing, everyone's attacking you for your position. What are you doing in the government? There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
However, the pro-Hamas hacking group Dark Storm Team has also claimed responsibility for the attack. It should be noted that IP addresses can be easily spoofed. This is actually something that a VPN does anytime someone uses them. Bouncing around an IP address around the globe is a tried and true tale as old as time to obfuscate an individual's actions. So we'll be sure to bring you the updates on where the cyber attack originated from as we receive word. Investigative journalist Sarah Westall and a major podcaster spoke with us yesterday a little bit about this attack and how the big tech industry in the United States is going through a kind of Wild West. What's going on out there?
Well, this is what I think. I think it's the factions, the dueling factions amongst the power elite. That's what I think is happening.
Really?
And the other thing that's happening that people don't talk about is the entire structure of the world has changed. We no longer, where it's not big oil and medicine and all these things that are running the world, it's big tech. And if you look at the largest market cap companies in the world, it's all big tech. Now, Saudi Aramco was third 2 years ago, and now they're sixth. And that was in December. I don't think it might have dropped again. So the point is that I believe that we're managing this world from like 20, 30 years ago, and the people haven't caught up to what's really going on. And, the ship has sailed, so people have to look at the world differently.
I think that you are seeing something very much akin to the end of the 1800s, the early 1900s, when the industrial boom was happening in the United States. And so all of these regional steel and oil companies were at each other's throats. And you had I just popped into my mind. Now you're talking about all these new tech companies shifting from second to sixth and sixth to 15th and 16th back up to 2. Now NVIDIA is surging ahead with its AI models. And that's a totally different kind of the tech sector than social media tech. How do we even, as observers, right, as just people latching on to the media itself, how do we have a little bit of discernment here without either being overwhelmed or schizophrenic?
Well, in my background, I'm a systems engineer by training, and I started in the internet, so that's always been my perspective, right? And I've just watched it completely take over. And I did a 10-part series on 5th generation warfare and mind control. And I know it sounds all conspiratorial, but I tried to make the biggest umbrella possible with the best people I could find, researchers, coming from academic institutions, showing it from all different perspectives. And I don't think people quite realize just how powerful not only social media, but also technology has been intertwined into our government for decades now.
Lastly, a series of controversies is surrounding the actions of Democrat-led state governments in both Maine and Washington state. Nick Brown, the Washington State Attorney General, has filed a lawsuit against the Adams County Sheriff's Office for cooperating with federal immigration agents. You heard that correctly. The State Attorney General's office is suing a county sheriff's office for cooperating with federal law enforcement officers. According to the lawsuit released by the Attorney General's office of Washington State, quote, sheriff's deputies have unlawfully held people in custody based solely on their immigration status. They have gone out of their way to enable federal immigration agents to interview or question people in custody, including transporting people in county vehicles expressly for that purpose. And they have proactively and routinely shared the non-public personal information of hundreds of Washingtonians, including birth dates, home addresses, driver's license numbers, and fingerprints, with federal immigration officials. All of this conduct expressly violates state law. Based on the information provided by the Washington State Attorney General's office, there is no state law under Washington Code that this particular county sheriff's office violated, but you probably knew that already. Also, a federal investigation found that the Maine Department of Education violated Title IX. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex in any educational program or activity that receives federal financial assistance. The Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights found that on February 17, 2025, Greeley High School violated Title IX, quote, through the participation of a male athlete in a women's high school track meet, end quote. Because of Maine's actions in this particular instance, they could lose up to $700,000 in federal funding received by the Maine Department of Education in 2024. Before you go, check the description below for the full interview with Sarah Westall. It's well worth your time. And join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for a bevy of news you and I both know is going to break today. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.